The fundamental question of life then is, what do we need to do to get to heaven? Matthew 7 says, "Enter by the narrow gate. For the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few." We realize that this life has many challenges, and those are dealt with on a day-to-day basis, and we are all subjected to a variety of temptations the world has brought to us right in our hands on a phone. Opportunities for learning and growing, and opportunities for temptation and sin. They've done the same through our computers, through our televisions, through the music. It has been a path that has been laid in front of us. But God has given us the will, the free will, to make choices, just like He did in the Garden of Eden. Unfortunately, based on the decision of Eve, we, here now, live with this original sin and now have to struggle in this life in many ways. How do we get to our destination? Well, as a married person, one of the things a spouse is supposed to do is to help the other make their way to heaven. Have you ever noticed that often spouses have opposite strengths and weaknesses? Why do you think that is? It provides a way for one to help the other by seeing things that need to be seen and giving them ways to grow through understanding the other spouse better. And these discernments as we grow are ways to help us, but there is no perfect path. There will always be times of solace and times of desperation. There will also be times of desolation. And in these times, we are low. We are pulled away from God often, possibly even blaming God for a situation that we don't understand. But in our desolation, there is opportunity. But we need to learn to understand what things happening in our lives are of God or are of the evil one. What are the things that drive us and pull us in certain directions? Combating the evil one is no small thing. As mentioned earlier, the temptations come at us all the time. And as technology has advanced, the temptations have increased. It becomes easier and easier to do the wrong thing and more difficult to do the right thing. When we are in this desolation, it is an opportunity for us to grow and get closer to God by being quiet and listening and asking God for our help and commanding the demons to leave us. The demons want to overpower us. They want to ruin our marriages. They want to ruin our relationships. They want to ruin our very being. Just like the devil tried to tempt Jesus when he was on earth, the devil is after all of us. Now, we can think that's a fairy tale, but the reality of it is there are forces in this world that are always pulling us in a direction that takes us away from God. You can merely look at the history of the United States, the last 60 years or so, and see it playing out in our lifetime. All of these things were done, supposedly, to make us better or to make progress more evident. But at the end of the day, it really takes away from our very need, which is to be close to God. We threw God out of our schools. We tried to take God out of the public square. What did we expect? We've killed 65 million souls since 1973, when abortion was legalized. It isn't just a matter of what the law says. It's a matter of what's in the human hearts that would allow it even to happen, whether it was legal or not. Truly, it takes a change in the heart of mankind to take care of such an evil and to stomp it out. By praying for an end to abortion, we mean we want it to end. We don't just want a legal remedy. We want hearts to be changed. We want hearts to be changed about a lot of topics that have changed and gone against what God has taught. The Bible is very clear on many of these topics, and without getting into them specifically, I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. Now, I want to be clear. Being a Christian means to treat people well, lovingly, in spite of anything about them we might disagree with. Whether it's of a physical nature or of a nature of the actions that they've taken or not taken, we are called on God and Christ specifically when he was on earth to love our neighbor as ourselves. But love means truth, and we have to be truthful. We can be compassionate in that truth, and that is exactly what we're called to be. But make no mistake, magnetic north is magnetic north. Certain things are right, and certain things are not. Look at how many of our leaders who supposedly are Christians or even Catholics who espouse support for things that are directly opposed to God, directly opposed to their own church, in the name of not being a Christian in the public square and being a secularist. Do we believe that when the judgment comes, that God will look down and judge the political life of a person or the moral life and how well they followed God's teachings? When Saint Mother Teresa was on this earth, she did amazing things for the people of India and others around the world through her stubborn love for all. And we hold that up to the point where when we talk about someone who might be perfect, we say, "Who do you think you are, Mother Teresa?" But yet, after her death, some of her writings showed some of the struggles she had. And people would say, "See, Mother Teresa wasn't perfect. She struggled." Of course she did. All of the saints struggled in their lives. Read their stories. God told us through his Son Jesus that following him would be difficult, and that others would mock us, and that others would want to change us, but that we must be strong and stay close to him, and he would protect us for the long haul to get us to heaven. The struggles of this earth are merely a flash in time compared to eternity. Mother Teresa's work was great in what it did, but her struggles were those of all people. When we are in desolation, when we have questions, when we have the devil and the evil one working on us, what do we expect? The closer we are to God, the harder the evil one will work. So Mother Teresa needed God. And God needed Mother Teresa on this earth to do what she did. But the devil wasn't going to let it be easy. The devil wasn't going to make it a thing that she could just live out that great life of charity without any pain. The old saying, no pain, no gain, always applies. She struggled mightily with the devil working on her. Of course she did. What do we expect? Do we think we're any better? Do we think that the devil doesn't pay attention to us? The evil one wants nothing more than to destroy families. That's the easiest way to break down a society. And as soon as it happens, everyone starts to normalize evil. And that is what, in fact, we have seen around the world, and specifically in America for the last 60 years, which now become a reflection on the time before that being days in which things were old-fashioned. They weren't progressive. The world should never treat anybody poorly. But at the same time, we have to recognize that God had a plan when He designed mankind. God had a plan with men and women to procreate. And this is no accident. This is a biological truth. But yet, today, we have people telling us that boys can be girls and girls can be boys. It sounds like an old song by the Kinks. It's a mixed up, muddled up, shook up world. And it is. What do we need to do to grow from this and to learn? Well, the first thing is to recognize that there are temptations and things put upon us by the evil one that are there in our lives to change who we are so that we are not close to God. And recognizing those times when we are in desolation provides us an opportunity to call it for what it is, to renounce it, and to call God to us, to pray to Jesus so that we can be enriched by His love and His compassion and His understanding. Jesus came to this earth as a human being for one reason: to save us, to be our Savior, and to also experience what man experiences. And that compassion and that empathy that is drawn from Jesus' life on this earth through His own divinity is how, in fact, we can get the grace from Jesus and the forgiveness, because Jesus knows what a struggle it is on this earth to be human and to be tempted by the evil one. It always comes down to one fact. How do we react to it? Do we go to Jesus, or do we allow the temptation to overtake us? That's the free will that we got. And now it's up to us to make those decisions. Being in desolation is a human fact. Having someone to be there for us and with us during those times is a way to grow. But we always have to recognize, even if no one is around us, God is always with us. Jesus is there in the tabernacle and around us. We need to use the sacraments to build our graces. We need to use the sacrament of reconciliation to cleanse our souls. And we need to use the sacrament of the Eucharist to bring Jesus into our life, literally, substantially, and fully, in order to grow against these temptations. Not that they ever go away fully, but that when they happen, we recognize them and we know how to fight them. And that is the battle of life to get us to heaven.